right. Episode 3. Yes, episode 3 of the REI Rocketfuel podcast. Today we are joined by none freaking other than the one and only, thank God, Kyle Calvin. Kyle, thank you for taking time out of your super busy, semi-retired schedule to hang out with me via Zoom today. Hopefully you're staying warm. It's balmy 9 degrees here in Wichita right now. So
it's too cold. I hate the cold too. I'm looking more at trying to figure out a way to do winters in Florida or Georgia. That'd be pretty nice.
I'm surprised you don't have any Airbnbs in some warm weather.
I haven't done the Airbnbs yet. I don't different business model, so it hasn't really fit into my thing. So
sure. I get that. So Kyle, I guess walk me and everyone listening, because I don't really know, your genesis. How'd you get started in real estate investing? Why did you get started in real estate investing?
Yeah. So try to keep it short. My undergrad was in finance, and my dad, even before that, was always about trying to get me to focus on financial planning. He got started a little late in life, so he was really trying to make it a big push, I think, to get it early on for me. And so I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was like 14, 15. And, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and all the big kind of Bible-like business books.
Sure.
Early on. So I was kind of under that influence pretty early. In my undergraduate degree, concentration was financial planning. So I was from the get-go always focused on how do I retire early. And so I went to law school at Washburn. From Kansas, wanted to stay in Kansas. So anyway, I did that. And then I had a job offer going into my third year of law school. Law school is 3 years. So I had 1 year left, had the job in hand. So it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do in my time? And so I was like, I got to find a way to get above market returns to kind of fast track this retirement. And just really was like looking around, and I had bought my place I lived in law school and had roommates, and it was like working out pretty well. So it kind of introduced me to it, made me a little more confident with what's going on, my ability to fix things. I added a bathroom to it and another bedroom when I first bought it, just by myself. And
wow.
So anyway, yeah, just YouTube University pretty much. Anyway, so just kind of had a little bit of experience with it doing that. And then just third year of law school, just dug all the way in, got my real estate license. And just every weekend, my now wife, we were dating at the time, lived in Wichita. And so every weekend I come down to go to open houses, run the numbers, and just sit there and be like, man, I really wish I had the access to capital and the ability to buy these, because there's just deals everywhere.
Sure.
And back in 2016, 2015, that was, we looking back, those are all deals now.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
So anyway, I just sat on the sidelines for a year, which kind of forced me I was all excited. So then I just learned. I listened to every Bigger Pockets podcast back to episode 1, read all the books, just really got all into it. And just when I finally did start working, I started buying. About my second month in, I bought a place, and then for basically 3 years after, just bought. So.
And how many doors do you have now? Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, I don't mind. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 270, 275, which is what I have an ownership interest in. I think I own some outright. I own one as few as 40%, but my average equity, I think, across the board is around 60 or 70. I think it's like 65%, 70% of those 270-ish. So.
Wow. Okay. So 270-ish doors in these 4 years?
Yeah. The bulk of those were in the first 3. I've been a little inactive the last 12 months. So
really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I done a couple deals with you guys, and I bought a portfolio of 25 and over the summer, but
that's super inactive. You just a
portfolio
of 25 houses. Kind of an
Yeah. Well, comparatively, a little inactive the last 12 months. So the years 2 and 3, compared to this last year, my year 4, those were a lot more aggressive and focused on growth. So just a little bit market change. Didn't really fit my model as much anymore. And then also just kind of like personal life changed and left my job. Now I'm kind of just focused on some other ways to create value. So yeah.
Sure. That's awesome. So I guess what was the like what really made you said in those first 1 to 3, really 2 to that second and third year was just super aggressive. You were just buy all the time.
Yeah.
Was that was it kind of an intentional strategic ramp up from year 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, or it just kind of happened that way that the deals just started to come to you because you were, a better connected into the people in Wichita and you were more bankable the more deals you did?
Yeah, so I wish I had there's like one like solid answer, but I will say the one thing that I think distinguished me very much different than the rest is the seller financing. So not just seller financing, seller second financing. I I contribute a huge amount of my ability to grow that fast to that model, and it's a model that I don't hardly see anybody hardly else use. And I don't think I was the original creator because there's certainly plenty of people that have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. But I thought I came up with this idea and later learned out it wasn't alone, but it's very infrequently used. But basically you go and buy a property, and the seller carries a small sliver of the sell price as a second mortgage on the property. So it really drops your down payment amount. So let's just go through a hypothetical. Say you're buying $1 million property. The same numbers can be applied to a $100,000 property, but let's just do $1 million as an example. Say you're buying $1 million property.
That's easier for you because you're used to dealing in the millions. I'm gonna have to take notes here on the side for the 100,000.
The same numbers apply. Just take a zero off the back. I could use 100,000 if you'd like. So $100,000 property, and you get a seller to finance a small portion of that, say 12%. That's usually what I get them to do. So my bank will put up 80% of the 100,000. So 80,000 of that is bank financed. The seller's going to carry 12,000 or 12% of the purchase price, and then I'm left putting down 8%. So what I was able to do, I mean, really every single one of my deals was this seller second model where I'd put down 8%, sometimes 5%. Even a couple of deals, it was 0%. I got this, and so you're able to just really just grow really fast. Now, what's really important here is that I shouldn't just tell people to put seller seconds on everything without giving the other flip side of the strategy, which is if the market had turned on me or gone negative, I would have been a little more tight. And so I was really, I would make sure that all my bank debt and even my seller debt has very long amortizations. So if you lengthen out your amortizations, you lower your debt service, which improves your cash flow. So, I mean, just wrapping up that anecdote. So put down $8,000 on a $100,000 property. Say it was only a 7 3/4 cap rate. So, at the end of the year, after all your expenses, but before debt, you're making, let's say $7,750. On that, after your debt service, you make a cash on cash return of a little over 30. It's about 31% on a 7 3/4 cap. So at the time, though, you were able to buy a lot of 8 and 9 caps. And so those cash on cash returns in those first few years for me were like 40, 50, 60, sometimes even higher.
Good Lord.
So, and this strategy, like I've talked,
cash is insane when you're putting $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 down instead of 20, 30, 50, hundreds of thousands of dollars down, depending on, of course, the size of the purchase price of the property or of the package. Do you find you've had better luck doing that with packages? Maybe those, or apartment complexes, maybe those sellers are a little more sophisticated and, they kind of understand the tax benefits of carrying back versus just outright purchasing, versus the mon pa that has one, or even worse, a listing on the MLS where you have to convince the agent representing the seller to somehow make all that happen. I know that's got to be a challenge.
It is. So my first couple of deals that I did do them at like the $100,000 level. I did, a duplex for like $60,000 and a triplex at $90,000 and got the seller to do that. And then from there, though, I kind of just wanted to do the bigger ones too, because it allows you to deploy more capital quickly. But also, like you were talking about, I do think your sellers are more interested in doing that because there's a lot of buyers out there that can buy $100,000 property, but there's not a huge amount that can do $1 million one. But there's still quite a bit, but
Sure, but it just gets less and less and less.
yeah. And also the time it takes to put a deal like this together takes a little more time. You have to be a little more knowledgeable on it. So I was just trying to, I guess, use my time more wisely because I was a full-time attorney at that time and working stupid hours. So
Sure.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's well, I guess did you buy any deals before you started doing seller seconds? Did you
Yeah.
or have you always done seller second?
I not all of them. I mean, I just did a deal just with actually you guys. I bought a quadplex off you a month ago
Sure.
and just did cash. But
Well, that's
I
because
think
it was such a great deal that
that's right.
you didn't even need to worry about your seller second. I mean, the return's taking care of itself on that thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that your circumstances change. At that time, I didn't have as much capital, so I had to be
Sure.
very, very like I had a lot of gumption and a lot of like work ethic, but I didn't have as much capital. So I needed to deploy that
Stretch it.
capital to really high return. And now now this is a little different because I got a little more cash. So now I'm not really looking for seller seconds as quite as much because I can put down 20% and it, not hamstring me as much.
Sure. Yeah. But I
But
mean,
if
at
you,
the time you had to stretch that, that little bit of cash you had, that was one down payment, one house. Now you had to save up to do it again.
exactly.
You could stretch that out as much as you can amongst many properties as you can.
Exactly.
So so sell it to me. Like, I don't want you to give away the secret sauce, but I'm a seller. I'm open to a second mortgage carry back. What's in it for me? Why not just buy me outright?
Yeah. So I mean, I would usually pitch it in terms of like, hey, I'm going to make you two offers. One's just a regular bank close. I'll put down 20%. Yeah, if you're willing to help me out a little bit and carry back some of my down payment, I'll actually give you a better purchase price. And so I'll kind of use that offer to give them two choices. People like choices.
Sure.
If they think their choices are 20% down and walk away, or this deal that they may kind of think less about walking away from my offers entirely.
Sure.
At least that was my strategy. And then I would pitch it to them in terms of like, yeah, so there is a little bit of tax benefits. So if you do have a big, if your basis is pretty low and you have a tax hit coming, it'll move some of those gains over to the year in which I pay off your note. So there is some tax benefits to it. And then also the earned interest. So sometimes people just wanted to be out of the deal entirely and they just wanted to they would love to have a little earned interest. So and so I would do that. And so that was kind of my pitch. You can earn some interest, there's some tax benefits, and I can get you a higher purchase price.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sounds like a perfect trifecta. If I was a seller that could afford, of course, to wait for more money or could spread it out, not always the case. So aside from the MLS, where were you finding these deals, in that that second and third year where you just went bananas? You have your real estate license. Were you scouring the MLS? Were you talking to agents, wholesalers, doing your own marketing? What was the
all of it? Okay. All of the above.
Yes.
Yeah. So I found some from my undirect mail. I got a few apartment deals from that. Got a package from that. Meeting with real estate agents, like yourself. I got remember Ash. I think that deal from there.
Yeah.
Just did that, and then even just networking with property managers. Got some from that, and then just sometimes I would meet a seller on a deal, and then they would contact me later and let me know they were selling again. So
oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, you do a good job. They circle back around with you.
Yeah, exactly. So I did all of the above. So I think now I don't even look at the MLS. I'm sure there's stuff still out there on the MLS, but
it's a good call. You're not missing anything.
Yeah. It also takes time to do that, and I got a little less of that. So
sure. What's the biggest mistake you've made along the way, and what's the biggest lesson you've learned, if the biggest lesson you've learned isn't the same as your biggest mistake?
I made plenty of mistakes, so let me preface it with that. I'm really fortunate that I haven't had one that's really been, really damaging or material, I guess is the word I'd use. So I've been fortunate enough that every deal I haven't lost money on a deal. I've lost money on trusting contractors.
Sure.
I made that mistake. I'd say that's one mistake I made early on, that I had heard the podcast, I heard the advice, never pay, never get ahead, never pay the contractor early. I was like, no, this is a good guy. And he wasn't a good guy. They can be good guys too, and then their life changes, things happen, and so I don't hold that against them. But I got swindled for thousands of dollars on that, and that one hurt a little bit, but I did that.
Was that early on, or was that kind
pretty
of
early on,
kind of down the road when you could, I lost that money, that sucks, but it's not gonna derail everything? Or was it early on that you were like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen?
No, it wasn't luckily it wasn't like that. I wasn't that silly to derail it that much, but no, I think it was $3,500. So it was nothing insubstantial, and I learned my lesson, have never done it again, and never will. So
yeah. That's it. I mean, that's as low as it ever got for Kyle Calvin, was $3,500.
No, I mean, I've had other mistakes, but I mean, I think you make your money on your buy, and so as long as I'm huge on numbers. So I think even when I've made mistakes as far as not assessing the property super well, it doesn't really matter, because my basis is so damn low that this deal could go wrong here and wrong here and wrong there, but like I'm still making money because I bought right. And if you buy right, you can have those hits and you'll be all right. So I mean, I've gotten in there and I've bought properties that the furnace didn't work and I had to go replace that or this or that, but I kind of always expect to kind of bake in those numbers some stuff bad happening. When it doesn't, it's a really great, you make the deal even greater. So
yeah, it's just a nice little surprise.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice for someone just getting started in real estate, whether they're looking to do seller seconds, or they're looking to do short-term rentals, long-term rentals, they're going to buy flips, they're going to buy an office building, whatever it is. Best piece of advice for a new real estate investor. They're just getting started. Maybe they've done a deal or two, or they're looking to do their first one.
Yeah. So I always hate giving this like just one thing, because I always think these things are a little more black and white. I'll give you a few, I guess, real quick. I think I think like learning is very important, and we're living in a day and age now where there's so much information. You can learn so much through podcasts, newsletters, just online forums, and it's the information age. And so you don't need to go spend a ton of money to kind of learn these things. You don't need to go to college to get these degrees and do this thing. So I think really focus on the education for one. With that too, I'd also say that when it comes to advice, one thing I really learned in law school is there's this thing called an argument of authority, and it just because you have credentials next to your name, or you have this sort of business title or whatever, it doesn't mean anything if the substance of what you're saying doesn't stand on its face. So you got to look at the substance of what they're saying, and regardless of the identity of the speaker, it has to make sense. And so I say that with everybody, and I when people say, oh, he's a doctor, or he's got a PhD in this or that, I'm like, well, at the end of the day, the sky is still blue, even if he's saying it's purple. So I think that she holds true to real estate too. So like, it doesn't matter how many units I have. It doesn't at all. Like my advice, it needs to be able to be the same regardless of if I have one unit. So it needs to make sense. So I would really, I know a lot of newbies kind of get attracted to people that have gotten size, or they've done this, or they have these titles, but it doesn't really mean much. The statements, the substance is what matters. So I would say just be wary of that, and just try to take it all in and learn as much as possible.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the things I learned the hard way early on. There's a way less eloquent non-law school way to say that, and that's if there's this guru on Instagram who's trying to teach you how to get six-pack abs, but he never lifts up his shirt and shows you that he has a six pack, you probably shouldn't buy anything he's trying to sell you, because the proof's definitely in the pudding. So
For sure.
that's there's people in Wichita that I know, that people always talk about. They have, he's 1,000 doors, he's got 500 doors, it's this and that, and he's leveraged up to his eyeballs. He's not making any, he's got all the doors in the world, but he's not cash flowing anything. So you can take advice from that guy if you want to live that. But, there's a lot of other people, regardless, like you said, regardless of size, don't just get attracted to that number of, oh my God, this guy's got 1,000 doors, I need to, follow in his footsteps. You don't really know, you don't really know what's going on under the scene.
And sometimes people will color things that are rosier than they are. So they may have a lot of doors, but they may not be going well, or they may be 95% owned by someone else. So it's just, you never really, you always try to take everything with a grain of salt and just ask, is this information they're giving me, does that make sense? Is that good advice? So.
Right. Okay. I know real estate's done a lot for your life, and it's changed a lot of the trajectory as it has mine already early on. What's the best piece of advice, or pieces of advice, since you're the overachiever, you want to give 18 pieces of advice instead of one, best piece of, or pieces of advice you give to someone on the fence about, getting started? They're listening to the podcast. They're you before you move to Wichita. They're going to open houses and running numbers, and they're like, God, do I get in? Do I stay out?
So I'll try to break it down to two. So I think, like, if you're trying to get to retire early or just get better returns, like unless you have some other specialized skill that allows you to make a lot of money, or I mean, maybe there's other avenues that you have available to you that the general population doesn't, but real estate for the large part is available to everybody. And it is by far the easiest way to get wealthy over time. Out of all the other avenues, I truly believe that. I'm looking at other businesses now to acquire and stuff, but I think from the get-go, with leverage and the tax benefits and then appreciation and cash flow, there's really no better investment. I still believe that. I'm still trying to buy, just a little less active. I think I have a little opportunity with my other business that's going on that I'm been focusing on, but I would highly recommend real estate. So,
would you be where you are today? Would you be semi-retired at
no,
or however old you are without real estate?
I love that you call it semi-retired. I'm definitely not even semi-retired, but I stopped practicing law. So, but I still work. I work less now in the last year than I have over the last 6 or 7. So that's been nice. Getting a little free time back, but still doing a lot of 50-hour weeks.
Okay. I didn't know that. See, that's good education for me. Kyle Calvin, hot off the press, is not semi-retired. Still at it. So on that segue, to wrap it up, what's next for Kyle Calvin?
So my wife's business is a mental health practice, and I left in February to go start my own management company, bring my rentals and management in-house for all my Wichita stuff. And so I'm doing that, but that only takes about 10 hours a week. And then I spend the rest of my time growing her practice. And so we just opened our third location, our third practice on the east side of Wichita just this week. So it's very exciting. And we're looking to grow. We're now the largest in the state of Kansas, and we don't, at least so far it looks very good for the next 6 months in terms of growth. So really trying to grow that and look at other ways we can grow in this area. So it's a very specialized area. My law practice was in health law, so it kind of ties in well to what she's doing, and I have the entrepreneurial side. So and then she's a therapist, so it all kind of like ties in. So anyway, really trying to focus on that and keep growing that business. So
talk about a power couple. Okay, well, that's you're just a man of many talents when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. What's the we'll throw a last question at you that I haven't asked anyone else because everything else has just been on real estate. What's the best piece of general business advice that you give? Like, doesn't have to be directly related to real estate. Since you're involved in many ventures and analyzing other businesses and.
Yeah, so I mean, I think in general, like I was kind of mentioning earlier, it's all the numbers don't lie. The numbers really tell a story, and I really, really recommend if you are getting into it, you need to know what cap rate is. You need to know cash on cash. You need to know how the numbers work together, so that if your numbers are off, how does that affect your returns? Things like that. You need to kind of go through worst case scenarios. So, and that's just the truth among real estate and in business. So, and I'm evaluating other businesses now, and I don't know, it's a scary task, but you have to go through it, and it can be a little mind numbing sometimes. But I think the numbers are really, really important, especially historical numbers. They really tell how the business is operating or how it's not operating. So,
well said. I lied. This is the last one. How do you, with all the analyzing and all the numbers focused, how do you not get caught up in the paralysis by analysis that so many people get trapped on? They've got the analyzing thing down because they've been doing it for a decade and haven't bought a single property.
Yeah, I think.
How do you not get trapped in that?
I think they need to set their criteria. What are you looking for? So if you set your criteria, like I'm going to buy anything with this amount of return, making if these sort of assumptions, if you have your baseline criteria, if it meets it, then you need to go explain to other people why you're not buying this, or you can explain to yourself why you're not buying it. And sometimes people will come up with reasons, but if you have your criteria set, it makes it a little bit easier. So I have my criteria. If it meets that criteria, I'll buy. And then that's kind of how I set it. So, and then if you end up running lower capital, then you just adjust your criteria to raise your standards a little bit so you have a little more cash. And then if you have too much cash, then you lower your standards for return. I mean, that's kind of how it works. So.
Well said. That's a nugget right there for people. That's awesome. That's awesome. Kyle, I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking time.
Hey, thank you, Lawton.
Out of your super busy, not semi-retired at all schedule to carving out 30 minutes or so for this. So I really appreciate it. Hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'm sure I'll see you and the missus around town.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Lawton. Thanks, man.
Yeah. See you, Kyle. Thanks.